Welcome back. Now, work-integrated learning is an important bridge between what learners are taught in the classroom and what they are expected to do in the workplace. But for that bridge to work effectively, there needs to be strong coordination between training institutions, government, employers, and other social partners. The Directorate of TVET is therefore convening a two-day working session in Okahandja, taking place from the 28th to the 29th of July, to look at the implementation of Namibia's National Work Integrated Learning Policy, assess progress made so far, and also just agree on priorities and coordination mechanisms for the 2026-2027 financial year. Joining me now to unpack what this means for the learners, the graduates, and employers is the Deputy Director of TVET in the Ministry of Education, Innovation, Youth, Sports, Arts and Culture, Abraham Ndakolute. A very good evening to you, Mr. Abraham.
Thank you, and thank you for having us.
All right. Just to start off with the basics, what exactly is the National Work Integrated Learning Policy, and what problem does it intend to address when it comes to Namibia's education and training system?
Thank you. The Work Integrated Learning Policy is a policy that came from a cry, especially from training institutions, who pointed out to us as central government that they are struggling to get young people who are in training programs across the different spaces of tertiary education, whether it's universities, whether it's vocational training institutions, to get practical hands-on experience. It's also a cry that we've been receiving from industry, which has been saying that the young people that they are getting in their workplaces or in the different industries do not have the needed experience to work, so they have to spend more time, more effort, more finances, obviously, to get them work ready. So the ministry, through the directorate, our directorate, embarked on getting a group of specialists, consultants, to prepare a policy, to draft a policy, to make sure that we give guidance to training institutions and obviously to employers and to industry on how best to incorporate or to assist young people to get practical hands-on job experience. So that's what the policy seeks to do. The policy seeks to create a coordinating mechanism through which employers and training institutions can join hands to ensure that our young people get the work experience that they need before they can take on formal employment.
Yeah. Now, one of the objectives of this working session is to clarify the roles and the responsibilities of the different stakeholders. Who should be responsible for what, especially when it comes to ensuring that learners and graduates get meaningful workplace learning opportunities?
It's a combined effort. Our session that we are going to have now over these 2 days looks at bringing the Office of the Prime Minister, our ministry, the colleagues at Labour and Justice, our partners like NIPDP, the training organization, the Namibian Training Authority, and the National Council for Higher Education. All these partners are going to play an equal role. We as a directorate and as a ministry are coordinating efforts, but in terms of the actual implementation, if you look at our implementation plan that is derived from this policy, it looks at all these role players or stakeholders that I've mentioned here earlier, playing an active role in the actual implementation of the policy.
Yeah. One of the stakeholders you mentioned is the Office of the Prime Minister. Now, the policy also needs to align with the Labour Act and the Office of the Prime Minister's internship guidelines. Why is this alignment important, and also what does it mean practically for an employer who takes on learners or graduates?
Thank you very much. I mean, that's a very important question. The alignment is very important because we need to ensure that we are aligned to the country's labor laws, first of all, and that is a very important consideration. We don't want a situation where our young people go into these workplaces and for one or the other reason, they don't get to really get the job experience that they need. They are either abused in terms of their skills, where they are maybe made to do things like making coffee, sweeping floors. We don't want them to be abused at all. On the other hand, we also don't want employers to feel as if they are getting a raw deal because of the implementation of this policy. So we want to make sure that everyone at the end of the day, when it comes to them playing a role in the implementation of this policy, they get to get a benefit. Us as government, we get to get a benefit because people who've got clear experience from this integrated learning initiatives are able to pump into the country's economy in terms of tax revenue and employers get employees who are job ready. But all this needs to happen in a conducive environment where the laws of the land are respected.
Yeah.
So in terms of alignment, that is very, very important.
Yeah. Now, speaking of that, what policy or regulatory or incentive measures are being considered to encourage more employers, specifically those in the private sector, to take on more Will students and graduates?
If you look at the policy, there are several incentives. One of them is a tax rebate for participating employers, where the Ministry of Finance launched this tax rebate initiative, I think 2 or 3 years ago, I'm speaking under correction, to ensure that participating employers can claim back the amounts that they are spending on work integrated learning in terms of tax rebates, not actual cash in the pocket, but tax rebates, which technically would translate into actual money that they've got in their bank accounts. We are also, if you look at the other spaces like the training space or the vocational space, we've always had the training levy, where participating employers with an annual turnover of at least $1 million annually, they get to claim back that $1 million because they have to pay a portion of this over to the NTA as part of the levy, but then they can claim back a portion of that again if they are involved in measures like this. If they are doing training at their premises, if they are taking on apprentices, if they're taking on young people. So these are two of the incentives that we've got to make sure that employers don't just feel as if they are basically throwing money down a dark hole, but they are getting something out of it. Besides the obvious benefit of getting qualified young people, there are actually financial incentives, two of those ones that I've mentioned here, financial incentives to make sure that they don't get a raw deal as employers. Yeah.
Now, looking specifically at the 2026 and 2027 financial year, what are some of the key priorities you want stakeholders to agree on during these 2 days? And how will you measure whether the implementation is actually improving?
Okay. Thank you very much. The main thing which speaks to monitoring and evaluation and measuring the implementation of this policy is, first of all, we are setting up a national steering structure. And the national steering structure is going to come from these organizations that I mentioned earlier. And it's going to look at, number one, what are the key activities that we need to work on? First tick is this engagement that we're having over the next 2 days to unpack this policy, specifically its implementation plan. Look at the activities that we need to run right now. The first one is set up the steering structure. Once the steering structure is set up, we need to delve into the implementation plan, look at the activities that should have been implemented since March when this policy was launched by the Right Honorable Prime Minister, and then put in place a clear monitoring plan. They need to guide us over the next 2 days to say that now that we've got the structure, the national steering structure, how are we together going to hold hands and monitor the implementation? There are key deliverables in the implementation plan, saying that we are going to be reporting on a quarterly basis on our implementation, but this needs to be concretized over the next 2 days to put it into an actual monitoring and evaluation plan to say that now that we've got these activities, this is how we're going to monitor. This is the person who's going to monitor. These are the instruments that they're going to use to monitor. Basically to just flesh out the details to make sure that we've got clear understanding of how we measure, what we measure, when we measure, and who does the measuring.
Yeah. Finally, Mr. Ndakolute, for the young Namibians who are currently within, the TVET sector, preparing to enter the workplace, what should they expect to change in this policy as this policy moves, from policy onto paper, onto implementation on the ground?
Support from us as a caring government, a caring ministry, and a caring directorate. 100% support. Guidance as to making sure that it's like, we assist them to identify where the pockets of opportunity as far as internships are concerned, as far as work integrated learning are concerned, and constant information, like we are here today to engage you, to engage the nation, obviously, and tell them what we are doing, that we are, as a caring government, as a caring administration, we are making sure that our young people don't enter the job market without credible experience.
Yeah.
So the main thing that we need to share with the nation is that through this document, you've got our support. We are creating mechanisms, we are creating a centralized support structure to ensure that you've got access to those work-integrated learning opportunities, and if there are any challenges, if there are any issues of non-alignment to the laws of the land, non-alignment to the spirit of this policy, as a caring government, as a caring ministry, we are there to support you through the process and ensure that the spirit of this policy is adhered to and there are no deviations, unless obviously the deviations are necessitated by one or the other critical factor. But we want to make sure that the central tenet of this policy, which is to give our young people first-hand job experience so that they can be meaningful contributors to this country's economy, that is achieved.
All right. Well, Mr. Ndakolute, thank you so much for joining us on the Daily Roundup, and we wish you all the best with the workshop as of tomorrow.
Thank you very much, and thank you once again for having us.
All right. That was Abraham Ndakolute, who is the Deputy Director of TVET in the Ministry of Education, Innovation, Youth, Sports, Arts and Culture, talking to us about a 2-day working session that will be taking place in Okahandja, starting off tomorrow, ending on the 29th, basically looking at the implementation of Namibia's national work integrated learning policy. Well, we'll continue with more conversations